Welcome in, folks, to another episode of What's Bruin. Oh, I got to get Gayle back in here. Gayle, we've got NHL action tonight. Finally, for the first time in 3.5 or so weeks. We got the trade deadline in a couple weeks. Are you excited for the upcoming push for these Boston Bruins?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, before we get to all that, we got a few other things to go over. You ready?
Sure. You said you were going to kick it off. What are we kicking
Yeah.
it off with?
I hope you get where I'm starting with this. I want to start with 33-2.
Okay.
Do you know where I'm getting those numbers from?
Oh, 100%.
Where am I
100%.
getting those numbers from?
Those numbers are the USA women's winning gold medal hockey team outscoring their opponents 33-2.
They outscored them by, as a team, plus 31 in a 7-game tournament.
Yep.
They allowed 2 goals in 7 games.
Two.
That's not just gold medal. That's otherworldly.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that's getting enough. I mean, we all know where the lights are shining right now.
Mm-hmm.
But 33-2.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Listen, I don't begrudge the men because what a phenomenal team. What a phenomenal tournament they had. I have no issues with them getting all the glory because they deserve it. But the women are not a punchline, and that's where I have a problem.
The women were more dominant.
Yes, they were.
By far.
Yes, they were.
Like
the fact that Connor Hellebuyck wasn't even the best USA goaltender in the tournament speaks volumes.
I mean, I think there's at least 2 other goaltenders. I could think of 3 that people are going to come away from remembering from this Olympics. Like, everyone's going to remember Connor Hellebuyck, but they already knew who he was. But
But the thing is, that was his first big game win. That was his first big game win.
Honestly, though, that narrative that he can't win the big game was kind of wrong to begin with. Because while the results weren't there, if you actually look at the way the Winnipeg Jets play in front of him during the regular season and the chances that he sees in the regular season, and then how they play in the playoffs, especially during crunch time, his game never changed.
Well, I mean, it's the same thing that people say, Tuukka Rask couldn't win a big game.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Byron Defoe. I mean, the list goes on and on. Henrik Lundqvist never won a Stanley Cup. You know what I mean? There's Luongo. I mean, there's great goaltenders out there that just for some reason or another can't win the big games.
And the narrative in of itself, like, yeah, people are going to remember Connor Hellebuyck, but like Damian Clara put himself on the map for Italy.
Mm-hmm.
Samuel Hlavaj for Slovakia. Mm-hmm. The whole Slovak team. I don't know how much I don't remember how much you and I talked about it, but I was looking at that team going into it going, people are really underestimating this team.
Mm-hmm.
And
people underestimated Finland, who
I know I did. I thought the loss of Barkov was going to be a lot more effective against that team than it was. But I still had them making it to that bronze medal game. I just thought they were going to lose that game. I figured between the loss to Canada and not having Barkov, and obviously they started the tournament slow. Like, I just didn't think they'd have enough in them. But boy, did they dominate Slovakia towards the end there. Yeah. The game was closer than the score indicated, but by the end of it, it was getting out of hand.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Lucas Dostal for Czech
stood
on his head. Jordan Binnington affecting his narrative again. He was just a great tournament on both sides. But Aaron Frankel giving up what I think she faced 199 total shots.
No, 99.
99. It was like 130 for the 2 because they played someone else. They played the other
Gwyneth
2 a little bit.
The other Northeastern, Gwyneth Phillips is the starting goaltender for Ottawa, and she was Aaron Frankel's teammate at Northeastern, so they're very good friends. And she pitched a shutout. in the games that she
I was
played.
gonna say, I think I saw somewhere collectively they saw about 130 shots and only 2 winning.
Yeah. And 2, by the way, breakaways. Not even like they were just unbelievable filthy goals, you know what I mean? And one of them was shorthanded and the other one was as the penalty expired. So it's like that odd man rush when you're coming off of you're either
Oh,
on
yeah.
the power play or you're coming off the power play. It was that odd man rush that that 9 times out of 10 Erin Frankel stops those, but she faced 99 shots, gave up 2 goals.
I was gonna say, as a team, if you face 130 shots and 2 go in, I can't really bitch about the 2 that go in, no matter how they go in.
And she didn't even get the MVP of the tournament.
Who got it on the women's side?
It
I don't
was
remember.
it's oh god, the girl from Salem, New Hampshire, Carla Harvey, I think is her name. And she did so she had 9 points in the tournament, which was the same as Megan Keller. And Megan Keller had the game-winning overtime gold medal goal.
Sick move, by the way.
Oh my god. Oh my god. That is the captain of your Boston Fleet, by the way. Yeah, it was I mean, that goal was in Hillary Knight, the game tying goal.
Yeah.
With her back to Desmond's that she had no idea that puck went in.
No. I was doing something earlier that day, and I got back home and I sat down right here in my chair and I got my TV right here. And I totally forgot that the game was even going on. And I just had that like, oh shit, they're playing. Turned it on, and there was like 10 minutes left in the third. I'm like, oh no. Yeah. And then they tie it, and I'm like, oh, I watched the best part.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was definitely that Canadian team is a powerhouse. The fact that Erin Frankel, I mean, and they defeated them earlier in the tournament. So, I mean, USA was the only team that went undefeated in the women's tournament. They went 7-0 in the women's tournament. But I mean, the first time they faced the Canadian team, Poulin didn't play, who is basically the Hillary Knight equivalent in Canada. So she didn't play the first game. When they got her back, that's when Canada went on, because it was questionable whether or not Canada was even going to make it to the final game without her.
She's their goaltender, right?
No. She's their highest scoring forward. She's the captain of the team, everything. She's an amazing, that's why I say she's the Hillary Knight equivalent. Their goaltender is Desmond's.
Thank you. That's what I was thinking of.
But
she played well, though.
Desmond's, oh my god, she played phenomenal. She matched Erin Frankel shot for shot, save for save. The only problem is that Megan Keller completely just the move that she made in front of the net was unbelievable.
I believe the phrase that we would use if it was on the men's side would be she pantsed her.
Yeah. Yeah.
So why not use it here? It's appropriate.
I mean, the thing is that, I mean, the goal was filthy. The goal was absolutely filthy. I mean, seeing not only did the women capture that gold, there was a lot of rookies that had never played on the Olympics. Erin Frankel, it was her first Olympics. Haley, I mean, there's so many of them that were playing in their first Olympics, unlike Hillary Knight, who that was her final Olympic. But it was just an amazing tournament on both sides, the men and the women. My problem is that everyone was cheering on the women until the men won. Yeah. And then it became a joke. And that's the problem that I have. I don't care about the fact that they went to the White House, because
it's kind of the thing that happens.
Right. It's a thing that happens. You get invited to the White House usually when you win a championship or whatever. But the fact that it was an afterthought for the women is what bothered me, and that it was a joke. to him that he made the comment, I guess I have to invite the women or they'll impeach me. Like, are you kidding? That's what you're worried about being impeached about, you pedophile? I mean, you've been indicted. You're a felon. You started an insurrection and you're disgusting. But yeah, that's why you think people are going to impeach you, because
you don't invite the women's team.
You don't invite the women. And the fact that, like, I made the comment, okay, so Trump called, whether it was Patel's phone or Matthew Kachuk's phone, I don't care whose phone, he called the men's locker room to congratulate them after the gold medal win. Who from the administration called the women? No one. No one. So,
and that's just a fact. Like
it's a fact. It's a fact. And again, do I appreciate the men laughing at his joke? Absolutely not, because the men have never had, especially, and I hate to say it this way, white men have never had to fight for inequality the way women and minorities do. So that joke is not funny anymore. It never was to begin with, but it's really not funny when it comes from the president of the United States.
Yeah, and you know, I'm also trying to look at it from the perspective of, like, you know, someone said, "Oh, it was 5 minutes after the game." I'm like, no, it wasn't. They were on the ice for 20 minutes.
Right.
They were, I guarantee you, the alcohol did not start in the locker room.
Oh, it did. It did. But that's okay. It's just like any other championship. The alcohol most certainly started in the locker room. I don't care about that. I don't care about that. The fact that the men supported the women throughout the tournament, most of them were at the gold game between the women, you know, USA and Canada, and they supported them. The fact that they supported them and then laughed behind their backs. And then they had the gall, especially Jack Hughes, his mother is part of the women's team. She's a coach on the women's team. He had the nerve to say, don't make it political. You guys, half of you wore Make America Great Again hats. You had the FBI director in your locker room. And you laughed at a stupid joke. How is that not political?
Yeah, I mean, you laughed at a stupid joke stated by a political figure. So you can't complain that things became political when you did political things.
Right.
Now, you don't have to view them as political in their own thing. You know, president telling a bad joke, that's not necessarily political. The FBI director, you know, first of all, I'm with, I think it was DJ Bean who said someone's got to look at the guy and say, no, this is a private party. They'll catch up with you later. You're not coming in this locker room. Mm-hmm. Someone has to have the wherewithal to do that. I believe I saw somewhere that it was Bill Guerin who invited him in.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter who.
He was in the locker room.
And it's not that it was the FBI director. It was that it was this FBI director. It was such... You should not be able to look at that picture and know who he is.
Originally, but you know what? It doesn't matter what FBI director it was. There was an FBI director of the United States in the men's locker room celebrating the men's gold medal. And where was the administration celebrating the women's gold medal?
They weren't nowhere to be seen.
Correct. Where were the phone calls for the women?
Most of the gold medals that the U.S. won this year were from women.
Correct. Also, Pat McAfee made it abundantly clear that he paid for the men's celebration alcohol. Who paid for the women's?
Apparently it will be Flava Flav.
You know what? But my point, that's after the fact. And he's doing it because the women got shunned.
Oh, yeah, no, I know.
And he's definitely trying to turn his life around. So I give him credit for that. He's trying to turn his life around, and he's trying to be someone to be boisterous and support women. So I applaud him for that. I applaud him for inviting not only the women's hockey team, but also all the other medal winners from
Yeah.
the United States. It's not just, and that's the whole thing. Like, why is he only inviting the men's hockey team? What
Yeah.
about where's Alyssa, the figure skater that won gold? Where's the women's hockey team? Where's the speed skater? I can't think of his name now that won gold. He won like 4 golds or 3 golds or whatever. There was the USA won 12 gold medals. Where are the rest of them? Why
Right.
is it only the men's hockey team? Why wouldn't you invite all medal winners and
And
celebrate? If you're celebrating the United States and not just men's hockey, why did you not invite all the medal winners to the White House? And don't make it didn't have to be Tuesday. It could have been this summer. Let's celebrate all together when we can so that everyone could be there. You know what I mean? But the fact that he's backpedaling and saying, oh, when the women's schedule opens up, you're not going to embarrass them and make them go to the White House.
they won't go anyway from and to then say that they've been invited. I thought their statement, the collective, on why they were turning it down. We've got schedules, we've got other things to do.
Mm-hmm.
That was the perfect out that anybody could have used, especially people on the men's team that didn't want to go, felt wrong about going, or maybe they took a step back and went, oh, hey, maybe I screwed up in the locker room and left it something that wasn't funny. I can be better and I don't have to do this or whatever. And I understand the case that is made of, you may only ever get to go to the White House once, regardless of who the administration is. Right. So sometimes you feel the need to just take advantage of it and go. Mm-hmm. Fine. But you had the perfect out if you didn't want to go. And we saw some players use it for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. I mean, Jake Gensel in Tampa didn't go. Brock Nelson, I believe he left and went back to Colorado. I think he was the kid in Utah, Clayton Keller. Mm-hmm. Ryan Smith, the owner of Utah, used his own private jet, flew it to Miami to pick up Clayton Keller and bring him back to Utah so he could be there. So there were options.
Well, and the fact is, and then all the reporters, because the reporters are asking the women and they're asking the men, what do you feel, this, that, and the other thing. And I saw Jeremy Swayman in his comments, excuse me. And I also saw him laugh during his comments, which pissed me off, but that's besides the point. But most people are only clipping the part that makes them feel better. Like Hillary Knight, one of the things that she said is that the call with Trump is a really good learning point to focus on how we talk about women, not only in sport, but in the industry. Women aren't less than, and their achievements shouldn't be overshadowed by anything else other than how great they are. That's the whole point. The women shouldn't be overshadowed just because they have a vagina and not a penis.
They were more dominant. Come on. If anybody should be getting the spotlight, it's both of them. But can we not get over how do we get over the fact that they 33-2? They didn't just win. The men went out and they won. The women went out and dominated.
Correct.
The women made a greater statement. And I get it. There's more history with the men's. I'm not discounting that. So it had its own aura about it. fine. And again, like I said, there were options to not go to the White House. No, none of those guys are getting
And
crushed. There were
again,
options
you
to
know what?
go. You're not getting crushed for going.
I have no problems with Jeremy Swayman, Charlie McAvoy, Austin Matthews, the Hughes brothers, I have no problems with them celebrating their gold medal win. I have absolutely no problem with them accepting an invitation to the White House. Okay? I don't. It's their prerogative if they want to go. You know what I mean? It's just like you said, it's the prerogative to say yes, it's their prerogative to say no. That's not the issue that I've ever had. I don't care. I think it's absolutely disgusting how they minimize the comments and after the fact are trying to shovel shit and basically make it okay. That's my issue. My issue is the comments of politics don't belong in sports, don't make it political, but they're the ones bringing it to make it political.
Right.
They're
you
the
bring
ones
in
that
politicized figures,
right.
And then you wonder why it blows up on a political stage.
Right.
Like,
and I know I've seen a lot of the, Taylor Heisey, Hillary Knight, Kelly Panic, and they all play for different teams. They don't even just play for Boston. But the questions that they're asked, that some of the USA men have reached out directly to them and apologized. And during the actual tournament, they really did support each other. And I have, and that's well and good. And I'm glad behind closed doors they're doing that. But in the public side, I mean, first of all, you have Matthew Tkachuk, who's basically telling women that they shouldn't call hockey players by their nicknames and basically shitting all over the female fandom. He's so far up Trump's ass, it's not even funny. He's such a Trump, and that's him. That's, whatever. But more of the women's team outplayed him. If you look at his numbers compared to some of their numbers,
he wasn't even that great in the tournament.
He was not a factor in the tournament. His brother, yes. But the NBC and Peacock also made a focus on the Tkachuks by miking Brady and Matthew throughout majority of the tournament. They didn't mic up, Brock Nelson or I'm like at a loss for names at the moment, but like no one else. It was just the Tkachuks. It's like
there are other players on the team.
Right. You know what I mean? And it was all, and during the women's gold medal game, they talked about the men.
Oh my God. One of the other things too is I was watching the bronze medal game, the Finland-Slovak game.
Right.
And they kept talking about US and the Tkachuks and this and that. I'm like, they're not even fucking playing in this game.
Right. Right.
Can we talk about Jaromír Slafkovský? Can we talk about, because Slafkovský had a hell of a tournament.
Right.
As a Bruins fan, you've got to worry about that kid.
Right.
I'm like, can we talk about how Slovakia got here on the back of Samuel Hlavaj? Like,
well, and not only that, but also the women's bronze medal game also featured another Boston athlete, Switzerland, Alina Mueller. Okay. I know that she's not American, but she played at Northeastern. She plays for the Boston Fleet. She is the most decorated Swiss Switzerland player. I mean, this is like, she has 14 goals in the Olympics in her career. And she got the game-winning medal, the game-winning goal in overtime. Another, you know what I mean? It's like, it wasn't a blowout. Like,
I will say this though, when it comes to the Peacock and NBC coverage of this whole thing, they fucking blew it.
Well, so they had the
coverage
games on.
Was terrible on both of them.
I mean, one thing was that they definitely gave you options. Like, if you want to watch curling 24/7, it was on. It was either curling or skiing with a little bit of hockey thrown in there. They did play.
No. I'm not talking about the way that the app was set up where you could select what you were. That was fantastic.
Right.
That all was great. I'm talking about not going there with your crew and covering it in person. I'm talking about not having commentators or a between period show for 90% of the games simply because the US wasn't in them.
Right.
Like turning on the game between periods and just seeing like a drone view of them zamboniing the ice, and you can hear the music going on, and like what the fuck are we doing? This is look, I love flow hockey. They
Right.
give you access to so much. That was flow hockey coverage of the American Hockey League.
Right.
For NHL players in this game, that was Bush League. If I'm the NHL and I'm the NHLPA, I am pissed about that coverage.
Well,
It was a major disservice to especially what we got. Now I hear the Canadian coverage was significantly better.
well, because they live and breathe hockey.
Exactly.
That's the difference.
Exactly.
Hockey is a Canadian sport.
I mean, is it now? I mean, we just got both golds from them, so you know.
No, but you know what I'm saying. It's like
I know.
Like they literally.
It's their version to them.
They shut down for hockey.
It's to them what football is to the United States,
right? Or baseball, but you know, because baseball
football is
right. Yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, hockey is like. But the other thing is too is that, again, I don't want to take away from the men winning a gold medal because they definitely deserved it. That team played so well together, and you have to wonder, had everyone been healthy in Four Nations last year, would they have won that game? Could they have beaten Canada in Four Nations?
I mean, they absolutely could have,
right?
Because it came down to the same thing: a goal in overtime, one shot in overtime,
right?
And that one beat Hellebuck, this one beat Binnington,
right?
Like,
and the other thing too. I mean, can we just back up and talk about Matt Boldy's goal?
Another one, he pantsed him.
I mean, that puck was bouncing. He split the defense, and it was just an unbelievable goal. Unbelievable goal. If the casual hockey fan only follows their team, they now know who Matt Boldy is.
100%. The other thing before we shift back to the Bruins that I want to mention, and I know you mentioned Matthew Tkachuk, and especially as a Bruins fan, the guy annoys me as close to 100% of the time as you can possibly get. And the only reason why I say it that way is because then he goes out and after the victory, makes sure they have Johnny Gaudreau's jersey, goes with Zach Werenski to go over and get his kids. Mm-hmm. And he's helping to lead that push. Mm-hmm. And it's just like in that moment, it's like, as much as you annoy me and your face is so punchable, it's like, how can you not appreciate that?
Because he's a despicable human being. He really
not arguing.
I mean,
but then he goes really and does something like that. You're like, really so you can be a good person.
It seems like the only time he can be a good person is when it has to do with Gaudreau. And I know they were teammates for a long time in Calgary. And I know that friendship, and I know that friendship is real. I know that friendship is real. So I will never take that away from him. He did not do it for show. He did not do it to go, oh, look at me. He did it because Johnny Gaudreau meant something to him and still does.
Absolutely.
And absolutely, Johnny Gaudreau means everything to USA Hockey. He means everything to his former teammates, everything, whether it was Calgary, Columbus, it doesn't matter. Johnny Gaudreau was that type of player and so that is the only time that I can give Matthew Tkachuk props, because it's not an act. It truly is not an act. That is how, and the fact that Brock Nelson also so it wasn't Matthew that got, it was Zach
Werenski, and no, it was Dylan Larkin.
It was Dylan Larkin. Those were the two that went and got Johnny's kids, and then Matthew brought one of them back.
Yeah,
But he had
as a group of three, they all kind of were like, let's go
right,
get his family.
right. You know, and seeing Meredith there and his parents and stuff like that. That is not an act. He didn't do that for show. That is probably the only time that I can give Matthew Tkachuk props, because it truly is important to him that Johnny Gaudreau is never forgotten.
And the fact that it was also Zach Werenski, his teammate in Columbus, and just great that they all were part of it, but the fact that it was those two guys
Mm-hmm.
who were essentially leading,
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
skating
100%.
around with his jersey after, like, the only thing, and I get it, security probably was a mess, like, as far as why they couldn't and stuff, but Guy should have been down there too.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been nice to see his parent, like a family member. Like, the kids are easy to, they dangle them over the
I
rail.
think
Like,
a lot of it because that's his legacy, is his children. His
yeah,
parents aren't his legacy. You know what I mean? Um, it's his children that are his,
no, it makes sense. Makes
so,
sense.
and I think that's why, because Meredith never wants to be in the spotlight either, and neither do his parents. And I think to see the smiles on his children's face, because all they know is that people are cheering, they don't really understand the gravity of losing their dad yet because they're so young.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, yes, they know he's not there, but they still are so young. They don't know the impact that he could have had. You know what I mean?
Also, note to his to the lawyer there in that case, probably not the best time to be filing for a dismissal of the charges.
Yeah.
Just saying, you might want to time that a little bit better.
Yeah. People are never going to, even people outside the hockey world, like we were talking about it, it was such a senseless, whether they were hockey players or not, it doesn't matter. He took a life by driving drunk and killed two innocent boys. And I call them boys because, I mean, yes, I mean, they were men, but you get what I mean.
Yeah. I mean, they were riding their bikes back home. They were essentially being kids again.
Right.
You
They were
know,
there for their sister's wedding.
it just horrible story, but great to see that they kept him around in that way that they have this whole time, even though we haven't seen it on a day-to-day basis. Like, it was mentioned a few times kind of in broadcasts and stuff, like, oh yeah, his jersey's in the locker room. You could see it when they would do some of the locker room cuts and stuff like that. But like that action of going and getting his jersey from the locker room, skating around with it, getting his kids out of the stand, that shows that this wasn't just, we're gonna hang his jersey in the locker room until everybody moves on from this. That was this guy still means something to everybody in this room for one reason or another.
Right.
And it's still a big deal. So, you ready to talk about the Bruins?
Yeah, let's move on, because I mean, I could literally, I'm looking at different stuff, like Alex Carpenter, who is Bobby Carpenter's daughter, right? She's a North Reading girl. She plays for Seattle right now. But her comment on the invitation by Flavor Flav was definitely super special after everything that's been going around. To have someone step up and really go to bat for us, I mean, that's all you need to know.
Yeah. Anyway,
can we also talk about, real quick before we move on, Jim Boomer Gordon? If you don't listen to Sirius XM,
I don't, but I did see some of the posts and stuff, so I'll let you have.
He lost his battle with cancer, and he was a phenomenal. When you talk about knowledge of hockey. Yeah. Anyways.
Oh, yeah. The only other thing that I had real quick because we were talking about Aaron Frankel before as well. Um, if you go to her elite prospects page and you look at her goals against average high, career high was last year or was in 24 25 and it was 2.28.
Who are you talking about?
Aaron Frankel.
Oh yeah. You don't have to tell me anything about Aaron Frankel.
I'm just saying, like, as we're prepared to move on, and I just had that note, and I was just like, her career goals against average is under 2.
Yeah. Like, yeah, you don't like people do not understand when I say that Aaron Frankel is the best goaltender in the world. I'm not kidding.
Statistically, she's better than any of the men. Now, I have to put it that way because at the end of the day, like if she were to play in the National Hockey League facing those same shots that Connor Hellebuck faces, that Ilya Sorokin faces, would her numbers be as good as they are? Probably not. But she certainly could compete.
You know what? That's the great thing about having men's and women's hockey. She doesn't have to. And she could just be her own brick wall and backstop her net and her team.
Yep. And it doesn't take anything away from her.
No, and we don't need to compare her to any men.
She will go.
Just like we're not going to compare Hillary Knight to Connor McDavid. Just like we're not going to compare Megan Keller to Charlie McAvoy. Aaron Frankel.
She is setting the pace to be the greatest female goaltender in hockey history. Mm-hmm. And, oh, by the way, she's only 26.
Correct.
So, anyway, moving on. We had a good laugh about this. The Boston Bruins signed a goaltender today to a PTO.
Oh, God.
Trade rumors are going around about our good old friend Jake DeBrusk. We got some lines from practice today without Charlie McAvoy. Where do you want to start with our faved bees here?
Well, I mean, according to Marco Sturm, the boys did not get in from Washington until this morning, 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, which is why Charlie probably was not at practice. He probably went home to his wife and daughter. Sway was there, obviously. I don't know how long. I don't know when Pasternak got back. I don't know when Jokiharju got back. You know, because there were more than just Sway and Charlie McAvoy at the Olympics.
Yeah, they probably got back a couple days ago. I mean, right. I'm not that worried if they missed a practice or two when they first got back.
I'm not worried as long as they're. I mean, there are teams like Colorado. They're not playing all of their Olympians. Some of them are going to play because they're playing tonight as well. Yeah. You know, Austin Matthews is on the ice and they have a game tonight. You know what I mean? So, I mean, there's a lot going on when you have an Olympic break in the middle of a season and some of your players were in the last event.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm happy with the lines from what I saw because it's not anything out of the box.
Also, I'm not that worried about, like, I'll put it this way. You have a 1-game grace period. It, like, if you're cut, like McAvoy, Swayman, if they still needed an extra couple days, like, you know what I mean?
Well, no, I mean, the thing is, though, it's just like travel. I mean, yeah, they traveled back. They didn't travel back from Italy. They traveled back from Washington. It's just like...
No, I'm talking like if Charlie McAvoy came back and he said, "Look, I need the extra 2 days so I can to help my wife with this and like whatever."
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. No, you don't give him extra time off. He was at the Olympics. I get it. He has a wife and a daughter, but he was at the Olympics. He was playing hockey. He doesn't get time off in the regular season.
We got Kevin back.
Hi, Kevin.
Kevin, hope you're doing all right. It's been a while, so
He was on last week.
I know it's been a while since he's been consistently here. So anyway, I don't know. I'm just glad we've got some games tonight. They play tomorrow. I'm not that worried about the practice lines. I did find the humor in the fact that people panicked over the DiPietro getting called up a couple times for he's getting called up for practice. As Allen Iverson once said, we're talking about practice.
Right. And the reason why he's getting called up is because their goaltenders were overseas.
Yeah. They need bodies. Now, like I said, they signed a goaltender in Providence to PTO today. Before you panic and wonder what does this mean for DiPietro or any other goaltender in the system, do 30 seconds of research and you'll realize that this guy is basically a 42-year-old coach.
Well, shh. You're not supposed to have, you're
ability
not
to
supposed
Google?
to be able to have any common sense. Now,
casual fans, new fans, may not understand why would they sign this kind of guy to an ATO, an amateur tryout agreement. Well, I'm sure their preference would have been to call up Luke Calivan from the Maine Mariners. Go look at the Maine Mariners schedule. They're on the road, and they're the ECHL. They do not fly. So they take buses. They were down in Florida playing the Florida Everblades. They had 3 games down there. And then their most recent game was in Bloomington, Illinois against the Bison. They play, I believe it's Friday, in Adirondack as they're working their way back. Saturday, they play in Worcester. And then they're back home for their next game at home in Maine over the next weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So Luke Calivan's goaltending equipment, the stuff that you'd need him to take with him, even if you could get him on a flight back to Boston like that, which you can do, or to Providence, his stuff is jammed under a bus.
Right.
And they don't play in Adirondack until Friday. So Bloomington, Illinois to Adirondack, New York. I have not mapped that out, but I'm guessing it's probably a 10-plus hour bus ride. Now you want him to dig out all of his equipment, hop on a plane, just to get him back for a practice for your American Hockey League franchise, which, by the way, the Jacobs don't even own? No. Providence was on a road trip last year. DiPietro got hurt. They had Brandon Bussey start, and they signed a guy from like the Charlotte, North Carolina area, and he backed up Brandon Bussey for a game. They released him the next day.
Right.
Same thing. ATO. It happens all the time at that level. It doesn't mean anything for anyone on the roster other than they couldn't get a replacement.
It's just like Toronto losing to a Zamboni driver.
Anyway. DiPietro was emergency recalled each time, so he didn't affect the cap in any negative way that would be adverse to them making any moves, which is good. After next Friday, there's no more roster limit. They're only limited to the cap space that they have.
Right. Well, because the Bruins have 8 defensemen right now.
Yeah. That's
still a thing, by the way. It's a wonderful place to be. It's a wonderful place to be, having Jordan Harris back and seeing, I'm
going to be interested to see how they utilize him coming out of the break.
Well, I'm also curious to see, that we discussed this, I think it was last week. They have 4 games.
Yep.
Between now and the deadline. These 4 games, and it's not just the Bruins. It's across the league. These 2 weeks or week and a half, basically, is gonna point teams in the direction that they're gonna go at the deadline.
Yeah, and there's a lot of teams that
There's so
are.
many teams on the bubble.
Yep, that's where I was going with it. Yeah, there are so many teams, and then the ones. So like, first of all, as Bruins fans, I've heard a couple things out there that I'm gonna just simply say Montreal is not trading for Jordan Binnington. They're not trading for Sergei Bobrovsky. All right, Montreal has their next goaltender in house. His name is Jacob Fowler. You should be familiar with him from BC. All right.
Mm-hmm.
If the reason why they're not trading for Sergei Bobrovsky, first of all, Bobrovsky ain't going anywhere. Whoop, where did she go? You're back. That's weird.
Right.
It was me last week. Apparently, it's you this week.
No, it definitely said "oops" on across my screen, so it's definitely me this time.
Okay.
Definitely me this time.
First and foremost, if you're Florida, you have no one else in your goaltending pipeline. You have Cooper Black, but he's not quite there yet. And Danil Tarasov is good, but you need him to be a number two for at least another year, maybe two. The only reason why, if I'm Florida, that I would even consider sending Bobrovsky to Montreal, by the way, in the division, is because I'm getting Jacob Fowler back.
Right.
And if I'm Montreal, Jacob Fowler fits the rest of my team better age-wise.
Right.
So that would be stupid.
Right.
And Kent Hughes and Jeff Gordon don't make stupid moves.
Especially Jeff Gordon.
So that one's not happening.
Right. Well, and let's be realistic. Montreal is on the upswing, right?
Yeah.
We all know Montreal. And hockey's much better when Montreal is competitive.
Oh, yeah.
Right? If you're a true hockey fan, having Montreal competitive, especially in the division, having that rivalry with the Bruins is a lot more fun than Montreal sucking.
Yeah, especially if you can get Ottawa, Montreal, Boston, and then now you add in Florida and Tampa. Like that 5-way rivalry, and then Detroit on the upswing. Like that is going to make the Atlantic the best division in the NHL, regardless of how dominant other teams are in theirs, because you can have Colorado just slice through the entire Pacific like a hot knife through butter, and everyone's just going to look at it and go, okay, great. What's going to happen when they face powerhouses on the other side?
Well, but what I was saying though is that you want a young goaltender to fit your team. So
and they have two, by the way. A good tandem, a great tandem between Fowler and Dobish going forward.
Right. And so if they were on the cusp of they could win the Stanley Cup this season, then maybe. But they're still a little bit away, right?
Yeah. And quite frankly, after the break, if they bring Fowler up and he gets more NHL experience, he could be the guy that helps carry them. He's that good.
Mm-hmm.
And if he's ready and he's ready, then yeah, they still could go on the same deep playoff run that they would do if they had Sergei Bobrovsky. Right. So there's no downside to not making the move if you're Montreal. The downside is you get rid of and you make a team in your own division significantly better in the long run at the same position.
Right.
It's stupid for Montreal. It doesn't make any sense if you're Florida. And oh, by the way, we've said all this, Bobrovsky has a full no move clause.
Right.
He sought out Florida when he was an unrestricted free agent.
Mm-hmm.
Why the hell is he all of a sudden, after winning 2 Stanley Cups there, finally seeing success down there, going to go, yeah, now you can move me?
Right.
No. Stupid. It's not going to happen. And as far as acquiring Binnington, they have no need to. They have Jacob Fowler.
Right.
Now, could Binnington and Montembeault kind of be a swap? I guess. But why?
Right.
What is that accomplishing for you if you're Montreal, other than getting rid of one contract that's not great, but lower?
And you're blocking.
Right. Like, and you're bringing in more money at the position where you already have 3 guys. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to do. again, is there a deal that you can look at on paper and go, yeah, that makes sense? Sure. You can do that with anybody. It's just logically, there's nothing there.
Sorry, I keep looking at the New Jersey Buffalo game.
That's okay. Also, the Bruins are not trading for Jake DeBrusk.
Oh God.
They're not trading for Jake DeBrusk. Like,
no, they're not bringing him back. No.
Like, I don't remember where I first saw that one, but as soon as I saw that one, I
so I think it was Bruins Cap Space had retweeted that someone, I think it was Elliot, that said Vancouver is taking calls on Jake DeBrusk or whatever. And Bruins Cap Space said there is no way in hell, basically, that the Bruins and Don Sweeney are making calls on Jake DeBrusk.
No. I saw someone said that they were showing interest.
Oh, who?
I don't remember. Oh. I don't, but I saw that and I went, yeah, okay. Kevin said, if the Bruins traded for Jake DeBrusk, I'm becoming a Canadiens fan. I think a lot of people probably, I mean, think about why he's not even here anymore. Right. That's all you need to know.
Well,
just like, by the way, the Bruins are not trading for Dougie Hamilton.
Oh, God, no.
They're just not happening. Like, does he fit a need? Hamilton? Yeah, they need a right-shot defenseman who can play in the top four. But it sure as hell ain't going to be Dougie. Go back and watch.
Tyler Myers is sitting out against Winnipeg for trade reasons.
Interesting. Myers is I do think we're going to start to see the trade dam open up a little bit. You know, we saw Colorado and Pittsburgh make another move yesterday. By the way, can we give some props to Kyle Dubas?
What?
Can we give some props to Kyle Dubas? Because he is doing a textbook competitive rebuild in Pittsburgh right now.
Well, Kyle Dubas got blamed for Toronto, and he actually put a phenomenal team together in Toronto. They just didn't elevate.
They didn't elevate. And when he said, hey, it's time for us to make a change here.
Right.
Brendan Shanahan said, yeah, it's going to be you. And he went, what?
Right. So, no, I have no issue. I think Kyle Dubas is a smart GM.
Very underrated as a general manager. He gets a lot of shit for what happened in Toronto.
Can we please, we in our Olympic tirade, we didn't talk about Sidney Crosby. I'd like to say that watching that gold medal game was a little less fun without seeing Sidney Crosby on the ice. And the look of disgust on his face when they were getting the silver medals, I actually felt bad for him. I didn't feel bad for Marchand. I actually kind of laughed. But I did.
You know what else I laughed at, by the way?
Huh?
You know what else I laughed at? Did you see the look on Nathan McKinnon's face when they handed him the stuffed animal?
Oh, yes. Yes. Well, I mean, no offense, but those stuffed animals were pretty stupid.
If you're going to hand them out, don't do a second line.
Well, no, the reason why is because they did away with the flowers, which makes more sense because the stuffed animals are actually keepsakes. So I get it. But I think...
But go, here's the medal and here's your stuffed animal. Next. Don't go down the line with all the medals and then go back down the line with all the stuffed animals. That was dumb.
And I was actually disappointed too, and I forgot to mention this. The fact that Finland wasn't there. When the women got their gold and silver medals, Switzerland was on the ice to receive their bronze. The men should have been done at the same time as well.
Yeah, I did notice that. I noticed it, but didn't really.
Yeah,
I want to say, but it should have been done a little different. But it is what it is at this point.
Yeah. Octolax or whatever. I'm sorry if I mispronounced it. He's absolutely. I mean, Kyle Dubas was smart in Toronto, and he got blocked at every turn. And then what he's doing in Pittsburgh. He's the president and the GM, so no one's blocking him.
Yeah.
And so he's showing the hockey world what he can actually do with the freedom to make
Oh,
those
and by the
decisions.
way, the restrictions that he has from ownership are all financial, and he's still doing it.
Yeah.
He is
Yeah.
still doing it. If
And
you
their
look,
prospect pool, it may not be sexy, but it's deep.
and it's only getting better with the moves he's making.
Yeah.
By the way, they have 2 seconds this year, 2/3 this year, 2 seconds next year, 3 seconds the year after that, 2/3 next year, 2/3 the year after that.
Mhm.
Like he is building up quality, tradable draft capital.
Yep.
And they still have all their first rounders. And they have $48 million at the cap in cap space at the trade deadline
Mhm.
as of right now.
Mhm.
Their current cap space is $40 million.
And it's a competitive rebuild.
Yeah. They have 47 million going into next year in cap
Yeah.
space.
Yeah.
Not that there's free agents to spend it on, but
No, but I mean, but he's smart. He's very smart. He doesn't get the credit he deserves because of Toronto, and Toronto wasn't his fault.
given the assets that he's building and the little chest of the stuff that he's got there, the cap space that they have, I wonder if Pittsburgh may be the team that pulls the trigger on a deal for Elias Pettersson from Vancouver. Because Vancouver is going to sell low no matter what. He's not going to go for what he could go for simply because he hasn't been that same guy. But if you can bring him into Pittsburgh when you have Malkin extended for another year, because that'll probably happen, when you have Crosby still as the guy, and then you have the young guys around him, that you're starting to get, he's a support role at that point.
Mhm.
And I know it's the same thing as the Bruins conversation about Elias Lindholm. Do you want to be paying the guy $7.75 million? No, but the contract's done. You can bitch about it, or you can find the right role and find a place for him to succeed,
Right.
and then just go. The money spent. Can he help us win? How?
Right.
That's all. And as Octolax points out, Dubas is the one who drafted Fraser Minton.
Yeah. That is a fact.
And I do like Kevin's point that Jake DeBrusk's contract in Vancouver has turned out exactly how a lot of people expected.
And that's, and I gotta say, not only that, but I mean, there were a lot of people that were mad that the Bruins let him walk away. And they're still mad that the Bruins let him walk away. Because I get it. You have your faves. You want to support your faves. People are still mad that they traded Trent Frederick. You know what I mean? Like, what are either of them doing?
Someone else to add to that list. How about John Beecher?
Oh, I forgot about him. He's been a non-existent since he's been gone.
That's why they let him go.
Well, right, and that's why I forgot about him. I mean,
and by the way, Jeffrey Vea has been playing quite well for Anaheim. They're using him heavily. So, and in a role that they needed, by the way, he's bringing physicality. I believe he's in their top 9. So, anyway, for the Bruins, we still have the big. We know what they're not doing. They're not trading for Jake DeBrusk. They're not trading for Dougie Hamilton. Who are they keeping? Who are they getting rid of? That's the big question that everybody wants answers to. And I think, I mean, you said it. They have 8 defensemen right now, 13 forwards, and then they have DiPietro still up on the emergency recall. He'll probably be sent back down.
yeah.
And people will worry about it and they'll freak out, whatever. But, you've got what is it? A week and a half? It's next Friday. Next Friday is the trade deadline.
Right.
So if Don Sweeney doesn't know what he's going to do in the sense of what he's trying to do, that's the problem. I think he has a very clear plan on what he wants to try to do. It's just a matter of, is it going to make sense and can he pull a deal that works?
Right. Well, and again, it also, these 4 games really matter, because if you all of a sudden lose 4 and you're not even close to making the playoffs because there's a complete swing, then again, he's not going to sell off a lot of pieces, but he's definitely not buying. You know what I mean? But again, John Sweeney is not going to bring someone in on a rental.
No, he's
Not
not
with
bringing
where
in a
the
rental.
team is. Not with where the team is.
If he was going to trade for a rental, he would just do nothing.
Correct.
That the favorable option right now is to do nothing over buying a rental. Unless it's someone who, like, people might freak out over the deal because they are currently a rental, but if he knows that there's an extension in the works that he is able to get done, or if it's someone like, if you're able to go out and get someone who you're kind of doing the, we want to get him in here, we want to get him with our group of guys, we know he's friends with Pastrnak and Zacha, and if he can get him into the locker room, we're confident we can get him re-signed, and then you end up signing him in April.
Right.
Like, fine. But it's an educated rental at that point.
Right.
The target is not renting him. It's and by the way, that long-term deal would be coming next, by the way.
Right.
You know, we're not trading for Alex Steves and then extending him for 2 years.
Right.
We've already done the extension on him.
So listen, let me ask you this. If you're Don Sweeney, are you calling Vancouver about Tyler Myers? I mean, he's a right shot defenseman.
I'm calling every team about every player so I know what they cost. If there's a player that can help me, I'm prioritizing the right shot D and a top 6 forward on the wing. Either wing is helpful, but I would prefer someone on the right side. Now, that being said, you know Tyler Myers is going to cost you an arm and a leg. If you're going for Tyler Myers, you best be ready to part with James Higgins. And the reason why I bring that name up is because we got Tyler jumping in the comments here. Does Higgins factor into the trade deadline process at all? I.e., are you willing to move Arvidsson more if they have Higgins who could slot in? Or is he a non-factor in our opinion? Lysell doesn't seem likely there. I'll let you take this one first.
I don't think that Higgins is a factor right now in the trade deadline because the Bruins are in a playoff spot. If the Bruins weren't if the Bruins were the same as they were last year, then I think that yes, because if he's going to turn pro at the end of the playoffs, then even if he doesn't come right up to the NHL club, they then would maybe give Lysell a shot, you know what I mean? And bring Higgins down to Providence for the rest of, especially since Providence is definitely going to the playoffs. You know what I mean? Like, so you're going to get more, he's probably going to get more experience in the AHL this season than he would even if the Bruins make the playoffs. We don't like the matchups alone. I know it's a 7-game series, but where you look at the Bruins versus Tampa right now,
I'm not throwing Higgins into that.
I'm not exactly. But Providence, why not? If he decides that he's going to forego college and turn pro, then he's in Providence. And if I'm Don Sweeney, that's what I'm doing. I'm sending him to Providence, let him go on that deep playoff run in that system. Because, and it may not even be Lysell, it could be Matthew Poitras if they don't move on from Matthew Poitras at the trade deadline. Because they have a lot of pieces that they can move on from to get stuff back, right?
Right.
We all know that. But you just said if you're calling on Tyler Myers, you have to be ready, be prepared to trade James Higgins. I'm not doing that. I'm not giving up Higgins for Myers.
I'm saying if I'm Vancouver, that's my starting point.
Well,
And you can negotiate down. It might take Dean Letourneau instead, but you have to, like, Boston has
they
two
may
top.
say that they'll take Patra, Lysell, and a future draft consideration.
It would probably be 2 of the first round picks that you got.
Right. You know what I mean? So, and that I may consider, you know what I mean, for that right shot defenseman. But I still don't think that Tyler Myers is the answer, and giving up Higgins is not as a non-factor for me.
Yeah. As you know, I've said this before. You have to be willing to part with James Higgins. However, there are very few players that I would actually include Higgins in a deal for because of what his ceiling is.
Right.
That being said, you have to at least be willing to discuss moving him.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure Don Sweeney has discussed moving Charlie McAvoy at some point. I'm sure he's discussed moving any player on the roster, because if he's not, as you like to say, he's not doing his job.
Yeah. I mean, like, and there's at least one player on every team that you could look at and go, okay, what's the rest of the deal look like? Because that's got to be the question. If you are saying, okay, it starts with Higgins, but you're getting player X, and I'm not saying that it would only be, but he would certainly help because he can play on the right side, even though he's a left shot. But you're bringing in Roman Josi. Like, okay, what's the rest of the deal look like? It's not just, if it's Josi and a second round pick, and now you're including Higgins and a few other pieces, you're also getting the pick. So there's a little bit more to it. That's the type of name that you're looking at. You're looking at, a Philip Forsberg-esque name if it's Nashville. You're looking like, no, you're not going to get Nathan McKinnon. You're not going to get Cale Makar. You're not going to get certain guys that literally would be disastrous to trade for their organization. But there are, Robert Thomas is a name that's come up a few times. That's the type of player that James Higgins has to be on the table for. Now, I'm not doing James Higgins and 3 first-round picks for the guy, but, you can draft 3 more, first-rounders if you trade James Higgins and you only need to trade 1 pick to get that type of player who helps you now. The key is helps you now and the future.
Right.
So, no, that's why I wouldn't necessarily do it for Roman Josi, because as good as he is, he's getting up there. Like, he's not going to help long-term the way James Higgins could.
Right.
Robert Thomas, on the other hand, at 24 years old, he could. You need to be able to get now a 7-year contract, 7 or 8 years out of the guy that you bring in.
Right.
So.
Well, Myers has 2 years left after this year. No.
Myers, I thought, had long.
He only has 1 year left. He's only signed through 26, 27.
Oh, I was thinking of Phil Pronik when I said that you have to be able to consider Higgins for that one. Myers certainly wouldn't cost you Higgins, but he does have a full no move clause. So basically, this is him going where he wants.
But that's why, and it turns to a 12 team this summer. But that's why he's sitting out, because him and his there's offers, and him and his agent are discussing it.
Yeah.
So he has the right to make the decision.
Yeah, and I'm sure Vancouver went to him and said, "Can you give us 3 or 4 teams?" And now that's kind of what they're sifting through.
Or they could have gone to him and said, "These are the teams that have offers on the table. Would you consider any of these locations?"
Yeah.
It could be I mean, I don't know if Don Sweeney finds it as important for a right shot defenseman as you do.
I mean, given the fact that he was somehow in on Rasmus Anderson, the fact that he's been linked to Justin Falk, like there's some semblance of we need this. To what level? Like, would I bring in Justin Falk for the right price? Yes, I would. I'm not talking about James Higgins or multiple first round picks or anything like that. But if I'm saying, hey, you know what? For Justin Falk, because he's got a couple years left of term, if he's another one, if he's willing to waive his no move clause, he's got next year and this year, right? If you're telling me that it's Lysell, Patra, a second, and you're able to get rid of and unload Henry Yoki Haru, and you get Justin Falk and a third round pick back, I would do that. Yes, it's a little bit of an overpay for that particular player, but you also have to move some money out. And if you're able to unload the Yoki Haru contract, look back, we got to remember he unloaded the John Moore contract. He unloaded Don Sweeney, unloaded the David Backes contract, the Matt Bolesky contract. He was able to trade out from underneath bad contracts.
Right.
So that might be the way that he's able to get out from underneath, because also St. Louis is going into a multi-year rebuild. So to have a guy like Henry Yoki Haru who can help out on the right side as you trade Justin Falk, okay, that washes this year. Now you've got 2 more years with Henry Yoki Haru where you're rebuilding, and by next year, your number one center, if you do it right, you've traded Robert Thomas, is now Dalibor Dvorsky, who, by the way, also had a hell of an Olympic tournament for the Slovaks.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's options there. The problem is at least in my opinion, it all comes down to the players, because so many of them have trade protection.
Right.
And I think that's one of the things that we're going to start to see with some of the newer contracts, with the cap going up. Teams are going to offer more money so they aren't stuck with trade protection.
Right.
And that's where negotiations you're going to look at some contracts where it's like, all right, why is this player getting, $13 million? Well, it's because they don't have trade protection.
Right.
Like it's just going to happen, because otherwise players will be like, I'll take 8 if you give me complete control over where I go. So there's all, and yeah, players waive them all the time, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're waiving to go where you want them to go.
Right. Well, I mean, Linus Hallmark, if the rumors are true, he turned down going to the West Coast.
Yeah. His preference was to be close to a shorter flight to Sweden. Can't fault the guy for that.
Right.
So, yeah. Anyways, we are about an hour and 15 minutes in here.
Yep. It's quiet tonight.
It is, yeah. I think people are either trying to get their last little bit in before Bruins hockey starts up tomorrow, or they're just busy watching hockey, because I got 3 games on right now on just one screen.
Are you starting Swayman tomorrow?
Let me look at the schedule. I don't see why not.
I mean, if I'm being honest, there's no reason Swayman can't play all 4 games.
I'm just pulling because you've got Thursday, Saturday,
at Philadelphia, home against Pittsburgh, and then at Nashville.
Yeah, but I want to get Korpisalo a game just to kind of make sure that he's got his game back underneath, because he didn't play in the Olympics at all.
Right, and Swayman only played once.
Yeah, but he
wasn't even the backup after that. I mean, but that's the other thing too. Like, Jake Ottinger didn't see any. Oh God, Kevin.
I'm starting Corpy. I haven't seen him let in a goal from the red line. Kevin, did you see the overhead shot from above the shoulder on that goal? Because it's very like the angle definitely it's his eyesight is here, the angle is still up here, and you still can almost lose the puck. So like I'm not that worried about it, Kevin. I'm hoping he's being a little sarcastic.
I mean, the other thing is too is if I'm going to give Corpy a game, I would pick Pittsburgh.
Okay, explain.
So you got to give Sway the game tomorrow, coming out of the Olympics, right?
Thank you, Kevin. I'm glad you were just joking.
You got to give Swayman the game coming out of the Olympics. I think giving him back-to-backs shows Sweeney what to expect. And then Pittsburgh, it's a game that Korpisalo, it matters because Pittsburgh is the other wild card team, right? So, right? They're still the other wild card
No,
team.
they're second in the Metro. Buffalo's the other wild card team.
Oh, okay. So, but now you're not playing a Sidney Crosby Penguins because he's out 4 weeks.
Yeah. That's brutal.
I don't know. I don't know. I wouldn't give Korpisalo. I mean, maybe you give him I'm giving him either the Philadelphia or the Pittsburgh game, and Swayman gets the bookends, Columbus and Nashville. I'm not riding Swayman 3 and then not giving him the Nashville game. That doesn't make sense.
So, let me ask you this, because you got the back-to-back on Saturday, Sunday. Let's work this a little bit backwards.
What are you talking about?
On Saturday, March 7th, you've got Washington, and then you've got Pittsburgh
That's
on
after
Sunday
the
the
trade
8th.
deadline. I'm talking about these 4 games.
I'm also talking about the
I'm not thinking that far ahead, and Don Sweeney is not thinking that far ahead.
Well, if with that thought process, it's Swayman. It's Swayman until it's not. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if Korpisalo didn't get a start until Washington.
Well, that's what I said. I would play Swayman all 4 games.
I could see
the trade deadline.
Let me put it this way: none of the scenarios that we can come up with would surprise me.
Right.
The only scenario that would surprise me is if Corpy got 3 of the 4.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
Like even if he got 2 of them, I wouldn't be shocked.
Right.
That's where I'm at. I mean, I'm not necessarily thinking only of the trade deadline. I'm thinking a little further ahead than that too. But I mean, yeah, it's going to be, in my opinion, it's going to be Swayman tomorrow. You come out, you're trying to set the tone. You're also trying to keep the Columbus Blue Jackets at bay. They are 4 points behind you in the wild card race. And you let them know, hey, your competition are the Islanders and the Penguins, not us.
Right.
Are you vying for a specific spot in the standings by the end of the year? No. Or are you just hoping to be at the table when the time comes?
You just have to be. It doesn't matter. Hockey is so different. It doesn't matter. You just have to be at the table. Because you get that hot goaltender, doesn't matter. We've seen it happen numerous times.
I will say, though, based on how things are right now, I'd rather be in that first wild card and have to deal with the Metro than deal with the Atlantic as much. But they all got just 25 something 20 some odd games left, so it's all gonna change right. As time goes. So I worry about Montreal, especially after Slafkovsky's tournament. And like I said, if they can get Fowler up, I would worry about them a bit more. Detroit Dylan Larkin, I know we talked about him before. He's got a new vote of confidence and a new desire to win. So it's going to be one of two things. It's
But
either
so
going
does
to
it
be,
Swayman.
huh?
So does it Swayman.
Yeah.
So does it McAvoy. Yoki Haru just won bronze. Corpusalo won bronze. David Pastrnak has a chip on his shoulder because they almost defeated Canada. I mean,
They almost defeated Canada. Yeah.
I mean, every player. I mean, Fraser Minton has something to prove. I mean, they all have something to prove. And if you can't get up for a game, then you don't belong in this league.
I know. Have a good night, Kevin. We're wrapping up, I think, anyway. So, unless there's is there a storyline that I'm missing?
I don't think so. I mean, these 4 games are huge. I think these 4 games are going to. So when we meet next week, the Bruins would have played 3 games.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay.
And they're
So they
2
have
days away
Columbus,
from the trade deadline.
right. And so that will, I mean, at the end of those 3 games, you'll have a better understanding if the Bruins is still in a play, if they're still in a playoff spot or if they've dropped out. You know what I mean? So I think next week's show is going to be a little bit more, a lot about the Bruins and what players have stepped up from the break, because let's not forget there are plenty of players that didn't play at all. You know what I mean? There are plenty of.
Oh,
I mean, Morgan Geekie must have a chip on his shoulder for not being in the Olympics. You know what I mean?
So, thoughts real quick on apparently the injury that kept out Pavel Zacha was a concussion.
Okay.
How worried about that are you?
I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not, because him not playing and getting the rest that he needed and not being at the rink was the best scenario. The best scenario was him not being at the Olympics and staying home and getting himself better. It's easier to come back from a concussion when you're not at the rink every day than it would have been if he was at the rink. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he had an entire week of mandated time off, and it wasn't mandated because of the concussion. It was no one's going to the rink. Everyone gets this time off. So, I definitely think it worked out for the best for him in that regard. Obviously, I'm sure he would much rather have been in.
Oh, yeah.
With
100%. He didn't want to not be with his teammate and his fellow countrymen. He wanted to, and you know what? If he was there, they could have beaten Canada. You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, any given day, any team can win. So,
yep, that's why they play the games.
Yep.
So it'll be interesting to see how teams start to jockey for those playoff spots and kind of where the points start to line up. You know, I do think we'll start to see some trade action.
Over the next couple of days before the weekend, we'll definitely see 1 or 2 here or there. I don't think it's like last year, the trades really started early. I think it's a disadvantage for the league this year coming out of an Olympic break, because where you are today may not be where you are on Saturday. So I think we're not going to see as much as we saw last year until we get closer to a few games under their belts.
I was going to say, I think we'll see, maybe 1 or 2 more between now and the end of the weekend. Nothing major, no main names. Maybe Tyler Myers gets moved because that sounds like that one's probably close, probably in the next 24 hours. Hell, it might even happen 3:00 in the morning.
Right.
But beyond that, names are going to kind of get finalized. The GMs that talked at the Olympics and, whatnot, they're going to kind of retouch base and be like, all right, this is where we left off in the deal. How does that sound? Yeah. That kind of thing. And then Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, I think is when we'll start to see things really start to trickle in. And I wouldn't be surprised if come Thursday, we're all refreshing our feeds come 3:30, 4:30 going, oh, these deals are still getting processed, because the emails have to be submitted to the league by line. they don't get processed by, as long as they're in the central registry, they count.
Right.
So we're past the time of needing a fax machine to do it. So an email counts and it has a send date. So as long as it's sent by 2:59 p.m., they'll be fine. They'll be able to get the deal in. So it'll be interesting to see what Sweeney pulls. It is high rumor season. It's clickbait season. So
Yep.
use some logic. That would be my final thought here. If something doesn't make sense, it probably doesn't make sense. And you know, media members get wrong info on purpose sometimes,
Uh-huh.
and they don't know that it's wrong. So,
Right.
you got any final thoughts before we? I think we'll actually keep this one under the 90-minute mark.
Yeah, I got nothing. I got nothing.
All right then. When's the next Fleet game?
Uh, Saturday. They're in Ottawa.
Ottawa. Okay.
Yeah. They're
That'll
on
be a
the
good
road
one.
until they're on the road for a week before they come back. Like they're practicing at home and stuff, but they're not back home until the middle. I think St. Patrick's Day is their first game back in Boston.
I know I'm taking my daughter to a game coming up. One of those ones when they get back. So
Are you going to Aganis or to Lowell?
I think Lowell.
Oh well, if you go to Lowell, you got to let me know because I'll be there.
I'll let you know. I got to go back and figure it out. There's going to be a few of us going. So
Yeah, and then the April 11th game, I'll be at the Garden. So
nice. Yeah, no, we're a few of us where my daughter's going and that sort of thing. So
yeah.
I'll let you know.